Hello everyone, in today's video we will be delving into a disturbing crime. Let's begin in. Johansson Rojo, born on June 17, 1993, in Sweden, navigated the complex terrain of adolescence with a vibrant personality that concealed the challenges she faced. As a teenager in the town of Stureby, she found solace in documenting her life through a personal blog, which inadvertently propelled her into the spotlight among friends. It was during this period that the intricate web of her life became entangled with the arrival of 16-year-old Tim Ved on May 13, 2009. A charismatic and outgoing young woman, Johansson Rojo was known for her vivacious nature, a trait that seemingly attracted the attention of Tim. However, this newfound attention became a double-edged sword, as rumors circulated within her social circle regarding an alleged kiss between Johansson Rojo and Tim on May 2, 2009. Complicating matters further, Tim was already in a relationship with 16-year-old Tove Lind, adding a layer of tension and intrigue to the narrative. Tove was described by friends as controlling, exerting influence over Tim and limiting his interactions with others. This dynamic reached a breaking point when the conflict between the couple escalated into a physical altercation at Tim's school, leaving him injured. The backdrop of their relationship, which had commenced in 2007 when they were just 15, was marked by a tumultuous journey marred by infidelity on both sides. Despite their shared involvement in the local church, their behaviors often contradicted the values they purportedly espoused. Tove's controlling demeanor strained Tim's connections with his friends, adding strain to an already precarious situation. Meanwhile, Johansson Rojo, having recently ended her relationship with a person named Gordon, found herself inadvertently linked to the turmoil between Tim and Tove. However, the supposed kiss that fueled the gossip never occurred. Instead, the turning point took place during the Swedish tradition of Valborg night on May 1, 2009, when Tim and Tove shared their first kiss, setting off a chain of events that would plunge them into a whirlwind of emotional turmoil. Unbeknownst to Tove, this marked the fourth instance of Tim betraying her trust. The revelations surfaced on May 12, the day after Tove's birthday, when Tim confessed to his actions through a text message. Desperation permeated Tim's attempts at reconciliation, manifesting in numerous calls, voicemails, and an email sent on May 13 at 10:41 p.m., expressing profound remorse and a fervent desire to reunite. The subsequent exchange between Tim and Tove, occurring during their classes, showcased a relationship teetering on the edge of pure animosity. Despite Tim's persistent efforts, Tove's responses grew increasingly harsh, reflecting a deep-seated anger and resentment. In a shocking twist, Tove demanded a horrifying act from Tim, the taking of Johansson Rojo's life, the girl with whom he had cheated. These disturbing conversations unfolded between May 15 and May 23, revealing a dark and sinister turn in their tumultuous relationship. Tove made it unequivocally clear that unless Tim complied with her macabre request, any chance of reconciliation was null and void. On May 26, the climax approached as Tim, driven by an ominous sense of purpose, left his house to confront Johansson Rojo, setting the stage for a chilling and tragic culmination of their tumultuous saga. It was during this unsettling period that Tim Ved took to the online realm, updating his status while anxiously awaiting Johansson Rojo's return home. Persistent calls and texts were directed towards Tove Lind, whose true intentions remained elusive at this juncture. Initially planning to intercept Johansson Rojo outside her residence without a concrete strategy, Tim's panic escalated when Tove ceased responding to his attempts at communication. Desperation consumed Tim as he pleaded for a response, expressing his panic and willingness to wait until Johansson Rojo arrived. However, when Tove failed to answer, he became increasingly desperate, discontinuing his calls after 9 unsuccessful attempts. The following morning at 8:30 a.m., Tove sent a message to Tim, revealing her proximity to Johansson Rojo on the subway and expressing her inability to endure the situation any longer. In a chilling turn of events, she declared that Johansson Rojo has to die. Tim reluctantly agreed to carry out Tove's horrifying demand. On that fateful day, he made his way to Johansson Rojo's house once more, unaware that she was currently at her friend Anna's residence. With Tove's silence persisting, Tim remained in the dark about Johansson Rojo's whereabouts. After 8 unsuccessful attempts to reach Tove, Tim abandoned the plan once again, unbeknownst to Johansson Rojo. Her life hung in the balance, and she continued with her routine, focusing on prom arrangements and blog updates. While her parents inquired about her prom date, she mentioned her friend Daniel, concealing her true desire to reconcile with her ex, Gordon, and attend the prom with him. That night, Tim shared a new plan with Tove, outlining a horrifying scheme. The plot involved luring Johansson Rojo to search for a hidden bottle of vodka, creating a vulnerable moment for an attack. However, Tove's continued silence and apparent dismissal of Tim's messages heightened the ominous tension in the air. Tim's desperation reached a critical point on the following morning, around 8 a.m., as Johansson Rojo prepared to catch the bus. Emerging from hiding among bushes, Tim concocted a lie about owing money and needing to retrieve a hidden bottle of vodka as repayment. He enlisted Johansson Rojo's help in finding it, and they ventured into the bushes together. The plan faced an unexpected interruption when Johansson Rojo's friend, Anna, called out to her from a nearby bus stop, urging them to board the bus promptly. Unable to assist Tim further, Johansson Rojo rushed to catch her bus, carrying the weight of her decision throughout the day. And meanwhile, Tove and her family embarked on a weekend trip to Paris on May 29. During this time, Tove expressed her growing mistrust of Tim, insisting that the act be carried out before her return. Tim shared details of his weekend plans with no mention of harmful intentions towards Johansson Rojo. On June 1, Tove, impatient and angry, inquired why Tim hadn't been in touch as promised and questioned whether he had executed the deed. Frustration and hatred poured out in her messages, accusing him of being untrustworthy and implying his association with Johansson Rojo at that very moment. Surprisingly, the response did not come from Tim but from someone else, Ola, revealing that Tim had left his phone at a friend's house, leaving Tove intrigued and unsettled by the unfolding events. The disturbing content of the text conversation between Tim Ved and Tove Lind was discovered by Ola, who found the messages unsettling enough to document in a notebook. Later, Ola shared this revelation with his brother Max, and the two privately discussed the implications. However, they opted not to disclose these details to anyone else, inadvertently becoming part of a small group of 4 people privy to the sinister plan unfolding. The evening of June 2 approached at 9:10 p.m. Tove texted Tim, issuing an ultimatum. She gave him a 2-hour deadline to carry out a certain act, declaring that their relationship would be officially over if he failed to comply. Tim, desperate for more time, pleaded for an alternative method to prove his commitment. Tove, growing more reluctant and skeptical, eventually agreed, with the understanding that Tim would execute the plan in time for the prom. However, at 12:18 a.m. on June 2, Tove sent her final message to Tim, bluntly stating that until he carried out the act, they were nothing. Following this message, she ceased all communication with Tim. On June 6, at 7 p.m., Tim, Max, and Ola gathered at Denis's house to watch football, unaware of the impending tragedy. The 2009 graduating class planned a celebration at Tootbakken, a large forested hill that had once hosted ski jumping contests. At 7:16 p.m., Tim texted Tove, indicating that he would carry out the plan if Johansson Rojo was present at the gathering, otherwise, he would find her elsewhere. Tove, once again, did not respond. Around 9 p.m., Johansson Rojo, along with friends Anna and Felicia, arrived at Tootbakken. Tim, Denis, and Max joined the gathering, with Tim notably abstaining from alcohol and appearing in a foul mood. Sitting on a rock, he made derogatory comments about Johansson Rojo. At 10:29 p.m., Tim sent a message to Tove, assuring her that he would inform her as soon as it was done and instructing her not to turn off her phone. Half an hour later, Tove arrived at Tootbakken with friends, and Tim pulled her aside for a brief conversation. Disturbed by the discussion, Tove and Olivia decided to leave for Olivia's home for a sleepover via the metro, avoiding the unfolding events at the forested hill. At midnight, Johansson Rojo informed her friends that she needed to use the restroom and headed into the forest. Unbeknownst to her, Tim, having left the gathering earlier, ventured into the woods as well. After a few minutes of searching, he found her beneath a cliff, initiating a brutal and fatal attack. Tim approached Johansson Rojo, striking her on the side of the head with a log. As she attempted to rise, he forced her to the ground, wrapping his arm around her neck in a chokehold. Despite her struggles, he tightened his grip. Tim then sought a stick in the dark, using it to press down on her neck and crush her windpipe. After ensuring she stopped breathing, he left the scene and returned home, leaving behind a tragic and horrific tableau. Worried by Johansson Rojo's disappearance, her friends initiated a search. Anna and Johansson Rojo, having a sleepover, were to be picked up by Anna's mother. Concerned about her sudden departure without informing anyone, her friends spent 45 minutes searching the woods, calling her name. With no success, they reached out to Tim and Tove, hoping for information. After another 10 minutes of fruitless searching, the friends decided to call the police. In a grim discovery, Daniel, Rasmus, and Gordon found Johansson Rojo's lifeless body in the bushes near a trail. Max's parents, who lived nearby, called 911, and CPR was performed in a desperate attempt to revive her. Unfortunately, it was too late. Tim Ved was arrested at his home on June 7 at 6:15 a.m. While Tove Lind was taken into custody around 9:30 a.m. from Olivia's residence. Initially denying any involvement, Tim confessed on June 10 to his priest that he had taken Johansson Rojo's life. Tove maintained that her intention was to end the relationship, and she devised the challenge to ensure Tim's failure. The judge, however, did not accept her explanation. Tove was sentenced to 4 years in a juvenile jail for soliciting murder, while Tim was found guilty of murder and received a 4-year sentence in a juvenile correctional facility. Both were expected to be released in the summer of 2011. This case left a lasting impact on Swedish society, prompting a newspaper campaign called Glöm inte Tess, Don't Forget Tess, which raised funds for the organization BRIS, working to help children in crisis. Despite this, the tragedy brought little consolation to Johansson Rojo's grieving family. I extend my deepest condolences to the family and loved ones affected by the tragic events in the Therese Johansson Rojo case. May you find strength, support, and solace during this difficult time. Thank you for exploring these intriguing and thought-provoking true crime stories with us. Stay curious, stay safe, and don't forget to subscribe for more compelling content. Until next time, take care.